On this episode of Gearhead Garage, we're tearing everything down. Another day of Fix It Out. There we go. What we're doing right now is we're stripping all of this gunk. All of this stuff pretty much is the factory installation that goes around the seams of the car. So from all the water, it just kind of sat around, got really soft, and now we're trying to get it out. Let's go outside. We got Uncle Robert here. He's co-hosting with us on the show. We got Nick, the cameraman, right here. What we're doing is we're pretty much just cleaning up. We plan on buying the sandplaster so we can clear all the rust out from the wheel wells, the door wells, maybe parts of the floor. We got the inner panel too. Might have to buy new ones. These ones are pretty rusted up. Got the trunk cleaned out. We're probably going to go through some of this wiring here. We might have to pull this gas tank. We got a lot ahead of ourselves, but step one, strip it, cut it, weld it, finish it. I got this pan all out right here. This thing is rusted. You cut that brake line, fool. Yeah, I'm kidding. Check it out. Does that look good? Yeah, it looks good to me. All this is gonna get cut out. The double metal right here. I can see where you hit the frame right here too. That's good that you stopped. Yeah, I looked under. Right. I saw that. What are we doing, fellas?
You're gonna record me electrocute myself. All right.
It's good for my audience, man. What do you got?
That's a
nothing.
Dead?
Take it out of that one. That's ground. No, you don't want ground.
yes?
No, you want the hot and common.
So, this is the firewall extension that goes up behind the floor.
Mm-hmm.
This would be right where your steering is. So if you look right down under here, see where your steering column is? So this lip right here is actually here.
Right.
So slide this guy over here. As you can see, if I had cut this to shape the floor, I could actually slide this way up, weld all this in, and then this would be solid again. I don't feel like dropping the column. I don't feel like taking all these pedals out. I have 2 to 3 months to get most of this in the car, make it safe pretty much. You know, I don't want to hit a bumper, you know, their feet hit the ground and now they're flintstoning it, you know, so that's what I'm trying to achieve here. Full-on body restoration, of course, would mean everything gets replaced. Everything. Right now, I'm just trying to do the bare minimum just to have a fun rat rod. Later on down the line, everything here will probably either get treated for rust, cut out, replaced. Now, you know, with a couple months around, I don't see cutting the frame, cutting the whole back half of the car out, you know, taking everything out, the whole dash. If I had like a whole year or two, then that would be an awesome project. But, you know, given 2 months, you got to do what you got to do. So that's what I got to do now. But now that I'm getting this mocked up, pretty much you can kind of say that I'm doing this roadkill way. That's what we're doing right here.
Shout out to Roadkill.
Shout out to Roadkill. Roadkills are my heroes. They really are. They're really my heroes. Here's the problem with this scenario. I can't take enough time off of work to get this done in 2 months. We got the driver's side in, we didn't get the passenger side in. The time that I did finally get around to doing it, we got rained out by a big storm that came in and completely stopped us a whole 3-day weekend. And right around that time, it was about the 2-month mark where I needed to get the car out of my uncle's house and bring it back here. So we didn't finish that side. So we ended up just bringing the car back home, hooking it up on the trailer, and just jumping on the freeway in the rain. Once we got back, you know, we started to focus more on the engine, getting it together, getting the pistons in, degreeing the cam, getting the heads on, doing the valve jobs, lapping the valves, checking valve spring installed height. So you'll see that in the second part of this episode. Aluminum pistons. And then they got the block right here. We got the crankshaft, 30,000 special piston rings. Chevy Ford AMC. We're putting together the motor today. We got Nick getting the piston rings here set up today. It's not raining today, so that's always good. Working, putting the main caps on right now. We gotta check the crankshaft before and after thrust. And yeah, that's the rear main seal, and then this one's number 3. These two are stand out from the other two. This one is going to have a lip versus the other ones. Always make sure that whenever the orientation you take your engine off, that it goes back the same way you found it. Another tech tip is there's arrows on here. There's also number 3, so I'll show you. 1, 2, number 3 would go here, but there's no bearing on it. 4, and then we have 5. Arrows have to be pointing in all the same directions to the front of the motor. Same thing with the piston. This one is number 8, and there's an arrow. So what does this tell me? This tells me that this has to be facing towards the front of the motor. Note that I'm not using real hammers, I'm using rubber mallet. Okay. You gotta make sure your piston rings are set correctly too. Our stamping number 8. We got our stamping number 8. We want to make sure everything is lined up properly. Polished up. Nice. Very nice. Seals, retainers, camshaft here, oil pump here. We have our rear end that we scored for $50. Got our chrome oil pan. Not sure if you can see it, but it's full of liquid. I know it's really hard to see, but it's all dry. There's nothing coming off this. And that's what you want. You want a good valve job. Or at least a good lap job, I should say. Not valve job, really. This should seal. This should do well. That one moves. This one does not move. I should be able to press that in with my thumb. Just like that. Had put these in oil so they could soak a little bit. That didn't free them up. They're froze up. Finished up the cylinder heads. I marked the springs with the line. Okay? Reason being I'm doing this is because when I start the engine up, and I run it and I break in the camshaft, shut it off, I want to see if all of these valve springs are in the same direction or if they've rotated. Push rods should be moving, which I'm going to do the same exact thing with the push rods when I install them. I'm going to put a line on them. But I think if I'm speaking from a correct standpoint, valve springs should be able to rotate. This is my first actual assembling cylinder head from start to finish. I'm learning as I go. So you guys have to forgive me if I gave you a little misinformation about this. I need to do a little bit more research. Don't quote me on that. I'll draw a line, okay, whether it be on the top or the bottom, wherever. Whenever the engine rotates on a flat tappet camshaft, the push rods, when the engine is running, should be able to rotate, okay? while they're going up and down, pushing the valves open and close, these should always be able to rotate. If they don't rotate, something's wrong. These are too long, or the ball size could be incorrect. The ball has to fit in here good. No rubbing, there's no stopping anything. It's completely free, both sides, okay? You don't just check the lifter, you also check the rocker arms. So these need to be able to move at all times. They are hollow. Alright, there it is. Bam. Cool. So they gotta be completely see-through, okay? Oil travels up through this, up to the rocker arm, okay? Just put a little bit in there. So I know it's free-flowing before you install them. That's just a good tip. Spreading the camshaft grease. I'm using grease in this application. You could use like the break-in stuff that they have. I'm not going to be running this for a couple more months, so it's always highly recommended to never use the lubricant that's in the packaging if you're going to let this sit for a couple of months. It's more like an oil rather than it is a grease, so it'll just drip right off this and leave this dry. Wipe it clean off. And here we go. Take a screwdriver and you stick it right inside the hole here, so you can guide the rest of it in straight.
Oh, look at that.
We're almost home. Home. Camshaft installed. The way that it's supposed to go, I think this goes in with this gallery, I think. Looks pretty good to me.
What about shaving that nub?
Well, we gotta check the clearance on that. And I don't see a clearance problem. So I did not film me degreeing the cam, but I degreed the cam to 106 intake center line. I also got Pluto and I used it to check the piston to valve clearance. Now, since this has a 202 intake valve, I needed to make sure that it was okay with the pistons. But according to the measurements here, it looks like these pistons were already fly cut from wherever I had got them. I don't know where the machine shop got them, but they were fly cut and the distance was correct, as you can see on the caliper here. So we're gonna go ahead and start lashing the valves and continue. Intake, closing, exhaust, opening. So when this exhaust is opening, we're going to adjust this one. And then when the exhaust is closing and the intake's opening, we're going to adjust this one. So the procedure that I'm doing right now is called intake closing, exhaust opening. Go ahead and start adjusting for the intake, and then the opposite. So once the intake starts to open after rotating it and the exhaust closes completely, then you can go ahead and adjust the exhaust. That's a wrap for episode 2. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Instagram page for behind the scenes content. We still have the passenger side floor to button up, but it's not going to be that much longer till that's done, and you guys will be seeing that on a future episode of Gearhead Garage.